recording. Okay. Good evening. Warm welcome to all of you to Gita Wisdom session. We are going to start chapter 15, the yoga of the Supreme Person, also known as Purshottama Yoga. We will cover this in two parts. Part 1, we will do today, verses 1 to 11. The acronym of this chapter is HOME. Very appropriate. We will see what this is going forward. Before I start, let me offer obeisances to my Shiksha Guru, His Grace Gaur Vilas Prabhuji, and my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, taking their blessings and seeking all of your blessings as valuable participants in this session. Let me embark on talking about chapter 15. Before we start, let's render our prayers. I will say the first line and then you can follow so that all of us offer our prayers jointly to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
If you repeat behind me, then we can do it together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Hare Rama
Hare
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare.
Excellent. Excellent. So before we start, I'll give some statistics which are quite interesting. We are starting chapter 15. We have completed 550 verses till now. And we have balanced 150 verses to go. And 20 slokas in this chapter, 24 in chapter 16, 28 in chapter 17, and the biggest chapter in Gita is 78. So this is for the statistical minded. We will quickly recap what we studied in chapter 14, the modes of material nature. So the acronym is PRAT. T stands for three modes. Now, just to refresh, let me ask a question. Does anyone remember what the three modes are? Anyone can answer.
Sattvic, Tamas, Rajas.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ramesham. That's the right answer. So Krishna starts with telling us there are three gunas, three modes. And then he says, this is the most important knowledge. We all should be aware that we are under the influence of this mode constantly, continuously throughout our lifetimes. He then tells us how the soul is conditioned by three modes and then how they bind the soul by attachment. This is about the three modes, verses 1 to 9. Second is race for prominence. In here, we have studied that the modes are neither in segregation nor in integration. That is the right word I have used. Does anyone remember? Race for prominence. What do the modes do amongst themselves? Anyone who remembers?
They try to,
gain prominence.
be one up over each
Compete,
other. Compete over each other.
That's it. That's the right answer. Competition amongst the modes. So if we want to be in Rajas or in Sattvic, the other two modes try to push it down and occupy that space. So we should be aware that the modes, you have to hold on to them with effort. It's not enough to say that I want to be in the mode of goodness. You cannot. Because mode of Rajas and Tamas will always say that I'm here, I want to replace that. That is R. So race for prominence is between the three modes consistently and constantly, and there is a competition among them. A, in the mode. What did we study here? We studied that the modes have long-term effect, medium-term, and short-term effect. So we should be careful and we cannot relax even for a minute. That is why modes are known as Maya. That which is not there. They will always tempt us by saying that, oh, let's do this. The moment you drop your guard, then you have lost all your purpose, all your penance. Pure life. That is P. Krishna tells us what is it. Now, Arjuna asks, can you tell me, can I live as a Gunatita in this world with this body? So Krishna says, yes, you can. So he describes what the symptoms are, what the behavior are, what the process are. We'll have a quick recap. What are the symptoms? Krishna says you should be equipoised, be neutral, don't hanker, don't be envious. Behavioralist, a steady stream of behaviors. He says, what do you mean by being steady? He says, be equal to praise or blame, honor, dishonor, happiness, distress. Anything which is dual, you have to be balanced, desirable, undesirable. Then deal with friends or enemy equally. Treat earth, stone, or gold in this, even though they have different values, but treat them equally. If you do that, then he says, this is the behavior of a person who is a Gunatita. Then he said, Krishna, Arjuna's second question was, what is the process? How do I come out of the influence of the mode? Krishna says,
Voice
Voice
problem.
control action.
Prabhuji, you have gone on mute.
ನಿಮ್ದೇ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಶ್ಯಾಮ್.
can you hear me now?
ಓಕೆ ಶೂಟ್.
I was saying, Srila Prabhupada is an example of how we can lead a pure life while living in this world. You don't have to really go to any other planet to lead a pure life. Krishna says, these are the things that you should do. And here is an example of how Prabhupada followed that. Let us see if this video plays.
By hearing, by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, this Rajagun Tamagun is subdued. Then Satagun remains. Nastapayasya avadve Nityam Bhagavatasya. Then Satagun Tamagun cannot do us harm.
These were the words which he spoke when he was about to leave his body. Just imagine, when the body was aged, it was sick, but his spirit and his focus on Krishna was unwavering. This is how we can, living in this world, take that as an example and learn how we can overcome the influence of modes. So with that, we have quickly seen what we have studied in the 14th chapter. We come to chapter 15, the yoga of the Supreme Person. A very important chapter again, and it's in a series 13, 14, 15. I'll show you how they're all interlinked. The acronym is HOME. Very interesting acronym again. HOME. H. H. The first 5 verses talked about this. And Krishna is trying to give us a lesson, and he's trying to increase the awareness and knowledge of all of us. He says, you all know home. What do we imagine when we say home? And Krishna wants to reveal the true identity of home for all the jivas. Now, when I say home, all of us have fond memories. We remember the love of our parents. We remember our childhood, the freedom to live without hassles. All our childhood sweet memories are associated with our home. And we love our homes. We love the atmosphere. If you all remember, when we were students and we were staying away from our parents, studying in colleges outside our hometown, and if it was summer vacations or winter vacations, as soon as we finished the exams, we used to rush back the first means of transport available. Why? We wanted to be home. We wanted to be amongst our loved ones, our parents. So home has such strong attraction to us. Krishna in this chapter is trying to tell us, and Arjuna, that while you all love your homes, do you know which is your true home? And why is he saying this? Now we have we have grown from childhood into youth, we are coming into middle age. We now start getting the awareness that our homes have a lifespan which is equal to of our lifespan. If we are going to live in this world for 70 years, and if we are lucky, we'll live in the same hometown like Murari, Ramesh, that I know, for example, or Rekha. Chetna, I know, has moved into many places like us. You are lucky to live in the same home. Most of us, our childhood is in one place and then we leave the home because we have to work in some other city. So that becomes distant memory. So at best, we may spend 25, 30 years, and if you are lucky, you are going to spend the whole life in one house. So at best, you can say this is our home for 70, 80 years. This is a place of residence we all love. Then Krishna says, hotel. That's another example of residence. You pay good money, you get into a star hotel, you can stay well, and that also gives you good experience. But all of us know it's temporary. We go there for a couple of days, we finish our work, and then we are back to our life at our homes. So why is Krishna giving this example? He says, while you are aware, while you know about the home and the hotel, and you know you love your home so much, please be aware that this is your temporary residence. You are still living in this world which is full of misery. Why don't you look at your permanent spiritual home? Come back to me. This is the essence of this chapter. And he says, why you love your house? Because you're attached to your relations, you're attached to your parents, you're attached to your surroundings, your experiences. He says, if you want to come back to the original home, then you must reduce the attachment to your home in this world because this is not your permanent home. Now, I'll give a story just to give you what Krishna is trying to drive home as a point. There was a king who was, very prosperous, very successful. He had a only daughter. He loved her. The whole kingdom loved her. And on her birthday, he gives her a very expensive necklace. So the daughter is very happy. She's a child. And she wears the necklace and goes out to play one day by the lakeside. And as kids are, they are completely immersed in playing. And, when they are lost to the world, immersed in play, she suddenly realized that her necklace is not there. Necklace is missing. Then begins the frantic search because she's worried, parents will scold. It's an expensive necklace. What do I do? She takes the help of her friends and they search the whole place upside down. She is, after all, the king's daughter. Then thousands of soldiers come. They also search, but to no avail. That necklace is not to be found. The king tells her, don't worry, I will gift you another necklace, even more beautiful, even more expensive, just in the next few days. Don't worry. So then she is disappointed. She goes home. And in the meantime, by the lakeside, there is a stranger who is watching all this thing. He says, oh, I know all these people have made so much of attempt. They have not succeeded. But let me try my luck. What happens? And then he comes around and he also makes a search. After a lot of attempt, he is standing by the side of the lake, which is on the deeper side, and he tries to peep inside the lake, assuming that maybe the king's daughter has dropped the necklace into the lake. And lo and behold, he finds the necklace shining in the deep end of the lake. He is thrilled. He is happy. He says, my God has answered my prayers. He immediately dives into the lake and goes in deep and tries to find the necklace. He doesn't find the necklace. He makes one attempt, two attempt, three attempt, and he is not able to locate the necklace. He comes on top. He stands on the shore, look deep. The necklace is seen, but once he goes inside, he is not able to find it. He is completely bewildered. Then he looks around. He finds a kind of a sage, a sadhu, who is lost in penance or deeply engaged in meditation. He goes and says, I'm sorry. I offer my obeisances to you. I have a real problem. I can see the necklace, but I can't get the necklace. Then the sage says, okay, I will help you. Then the stranger says, you should promise me, don't ask for a share. I need whatever I get on my own. I will not share it with you. He says, I'm a sage, don't worry, I'll help you. He comes there, he stands near the place where he has seen the necklace. And yes, he says, I agree with you that the bottom of the lake has this shining necklace. Then he says, oh, I have understood what the problem is. Give me a minute. And then he turns back. There's a huge tree there. He climbs up the tree. He finds the necklace hanging in the branch. Maybe a bird had picked it up and left it there. He picks up the necklace, throws it down to the stranger, and says, you take your necklace. And then he comes down and says, did you understand what is the learning in this whole thing? The stranger says, I don't know. I'm surprised. I was looking for the necklace inside the lake, but actually the necklace was on top of the tree. So the sage says, this is the moral of life. We are always chasing the reflection than looking at the real place where the necklace is hidden. Krishna has the same message to give us in this chapter. He says, don't be attached to your temporary home. Please be focused on reaching your permanent home. That is the essence of H. Then O is on and on, over and over again. Krishna gives us a glimpse of the permanent world, permanent spiritual home for all living entities. The doors are always open. There is nothing like you need a visa to go there. All we need to do is listen to what Krishna has said, follow his advice, then the doors are open. All of us can go there. It's a perfect world. It's complete, satisfying, no miseries. There is freedom from life and death. We never get old there. We are always the way we are, just like the Lord is. So we will go through this verses 6 to 11 today. M is maintainer of body, mind, soul, and essence of Gita in 3 verses. We will go through in the next class. Now let's start with the first verse. Before that, now I had told you that I will show the connection between the 13th, 14th, and the 15th chapters. It actually extends up to 16th and 17th. I will take up that when we reach 16th. So what did we learn in this 13th chapter? In 13th chapter, the 13.22 is the Bijavakya. Krishna says, Purusha Prakriti Stohi, Bhunte Prakriti Jan Gunan. I have highlighted that here. Karanam Guna Sangosya Sad Asad Yoni Janmashu. What is the essence of this verse? Is that the soul is situated in the material nature, and because it wants to enjoy, it comes under the influence of the 3 modes. So what is the learning here? The first learning is desire is the seed. Because the jiva wants to enjoy, the modes provide the means to enjoy. Now this is how the desire as the seed sprouts into a plant, and then it grows bigger and bigger. In the 14th chapter, Krishna says, understand the 3 modes. And what is the purpose of this mode? The purpose of this mode is it nourishes your desire. It helps the desire, the seed, to grow into a plant. And then Arjuna says, how do I come out of this influence of the modes? Then Krishna says in 14.26, he says, Bhakti Yogena Sevate. By bhakti, by devotional service, you can come out of the influence of the modes. Then in 14.27, he says, Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. That is how 14.26 ends. Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sa Gunan Samati Taitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. He says you can achieve the platform of Brahman. Then in 14.27, he says, Brahmano hi pratistaham. I am that Brahman. I am the source of Brahman. Brahman is not different from me. So Arjuna has now understood desire is the seed, modes are the means, the nourishment for that seed to grow, and which increases my attachment to this world. Now, Krishna gives in 15th chapter, which is titled Purshottama Yoga, he says, please understand this world is a reflection. And it connects very well with the story. Remember the necklace shining brightly deep inside the lake, but where was the necklace? Not within the lake, but on top of the tree. So that is the metaphor that Krishna uses in this chapter to drive home the point. Don't be attracted to this temporary material home, so-called home. Try to come back to the spiritual home. So he compares the material world to a banyan tree, which is upside down. And in 15.3 and 4, he says, use the act of detachment, cut this tree of attachment. That is the importance of this chapter. So we know that we are under the influence of mode. We know that Bhakti Yogena Sevate, we can come out of the influence of the mode. And now he's giving us further insight, further knowledge, saying that how we should look at this stay, that the temporary stay that we have as jivas in this world, and how we can get back to the spiritual world if we follow the 15th chapter. Let's go to the first verse. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Urdhvamulam Adashakam Ashwattam Prahuravyayam Chandamshi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. Krishna says, material world is an upside down banyan tree. This is the one line summary of this verse. Let's go through the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward. So the roots are upward, and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of Vedas. So this is a metaphor. This is a verse of imagery. He wants us to vividly imagine our situation because it's not easy. If I give philosophy in very high flying words, none of us are going to understand it. So Krishna is trying to make it as simple as possible and says, imagine an upside down banyan tree. This is how the reflection looks. The real world is on top, and what we are living in this material world is just a reflection of the spiritual world. And it is not that Krishna is saying this on his own, or this is the first time. This is well covered in all the scriptures. In Kathopanishad, which I quote here, it says, Urdhvamulo avakshaka isho ashwatta sanatanaha. The ashwatta tree with its root upward and branches downward is eternal. So what is the first thing that Krishna is trying to highlight? Imagine that you are living in this material world, which is an upside down banyan tree. Ashwattha. Ashwattha means naswa tasyati, not existing in the future. The material energy is eternal. The material world is temporary. He says, be aware of that. The other word of Ashwattha, the Ashwattha has many meanings, and another word is I don't know how many of us have seen, an horse loves to stand on three legs and hold one leg. So that is also when you see a horse standing on three legs with one leg folded, it is called as Ashwattha. Ashwa means horse, and Tha is standing on three legs. Because Krishna says this world is actually unstable. It is unsteady. Can you imagine the horse? Can it be stable when it stands on three legs? No way. But it loves to do that. In Purshottama mantra, it is said, Pado asya vishwabhutani tripadasya amrutam divi. This temporary world made from the material energy is but one part of the creation. The one leg that the horse has folded is the material world. The other three parts are the eternal abode of God that is beyond the phenomenon of life and death. So the three legs, which is stable, is the Tripad Vibhuti. And one leg, which makes the horse unstable, is Ekpad Vibhuti. This is how we should understand the material world. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Now let's go through what is the first line meaning. Urdhvamulam Radhashakam. Krishna says this material tree is a material world is like a Ashwattha tree for the soul. Its roots are going upwards, nourished and supported by the mode. The trunk and branches are extending downwards. Adashakam. All the life forms from different abodes of this material universe are included in this branches. There are 14 worlds which are extending from Brahma, Satyaloka onwards to Patala. All these are in the material world. Even Brahma is part of the material world. Beyond Satyaloka is Goloka. Going further, why is Krishna comparing this to a banyan tree? Quick look. Mahatvam, both of them are huge. I'm sure people who live in Bombay and Calcutta could have seen biggest banyan trees in India. They are spread over acres. And you never know from where it starts and where it ends. That's the uniqueness of a banyan tree. The tree is visible, but the root is underneath and not visible. Similarly, the world has an invisible root, and that is what our scriptures are telling us. Krishna is telling Arjuna, realize the invisible root. Bhagavan, that is Krishna. In Vishnu Sahasrama, the Lord's name is Adokshaja. What is Adokshaja? He is beyond sensory knowledge. So let's not try to understand Krishna by applying our material intelligence. Then he says, trees are nesting site for birds. Banyan trees, it's being huge. Thousands of birds make their nest on the tree. Similarly, this material world is an upside down banyan tree, and all the jivas are the bird. Parna Vatvam. Tree is full of green leaf. We all agree. and the trees nourish the plant through photosynthesis. Similarly, why the leaves are known as Karmakanda, the leaves are compared to Karmakanda of the Vedas because they are nourishing our life in this samsara. So this is the reason why Krishna is comparing this world to a upside down banyan tree. So how do we understand this concept? Concept is the tree is here on the shore. When you see in the water, you only see the reflection. So this is the spiritual world. This is the material world. So Krishna says, please realize this is not the reality. The reality is above. And this is not that Krishna is saying this. There is one more reference in Taittiriya Araneka. It says, those who know this tree with its roots upward and branches downward will not believe that death can finish them. So death in this world is the beginning of another life. Ashwatam Prahuravyayam. Ashwatam is a banyan tree. Prahuravyayam. It is said to be imperishable. Chandamshi. Yasya Parnani. Chandamshi. Chandas is coming from Veda mantra. Veda mantra is known as Chanda. And why is it compared to Vedas, leaves? Because leaves protect the tree by photosynthesis. Similarly, the Veda mantras protect the jivas through rituals and ceremonies. They give you reward. You do Navagroma Homa, you will get this Shanti. You do Satyanarayana Puja, you will get this reward. So all these Karmakanda activities are like the leaves of this banyan tree. Remember that they will bind you in this reflection. You are not going to go above the reflection if you follow Karmakanda. Krishna is giving us that caution here. Then you see, Jasya Parnani. Parnani are leaves, they nourish the plant. Similarly, if you are following Karmakanda of Vedas, you are going to continue your existence in this material world only. Yastam Veda. One who knows this tree in totality, the Vedavid. So what you should know that this is an upside down banyan tree. It's a reflection of the spiritual world. If you and the leaves are comparable to Karmakanda, so I should not be tempted by this good looking Karmakanda mantras. I should go beyond. I should go to the real spiritual world. That is the essence of this verse. Srila Prabhupada in his purport says, a reflection is temporary. It is sometimes seen and sometimes it is not seen. The origin of the reflection from where it is reflected is eternal. So we should try to find this tree. We should find the necklace hanging on the tree and not see its reflection in the water. That is the essence of what Krishna is telling Arjuna in this. And he says, as we go forward, try to cut off the material reflection. Try to be aware that Krishna has told us, look up towards the spiritual world and come back to me. That is what is our essence of life. Now we go to the second verse. From material world to spiritual world by detachment and surrender. Daschodvam praskritastasya shaka guna pravruddha vishaya pravalaha adascha mulani anusantatani karmanubandhini manishya loke. So material world is a tree nourished by three modes and proved to act. Very, very important part of the knowledge. If we know what we have to get over, what we should overcome, then we can make an effort to that. Translation. The branches of this tree extend downwards and upwards, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twig also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Manishya Loke. We will continue to be bound in this world if you are not aware of this deep attachment for this material world. Try to come out of it. I was referring to the great tree in Great Banyan Tree in Calcutta. It's located in the Botanical Garden. And I have the dimensions of it. It is spread across 4.7 acres. And it has 3,700 aerial roots. And its circumference is about 486 meters. So Krishna, when he gives the comparison, gives you can understand by the hugeness of this tree that how complicated it is for us to understand. Unless and until we go through scriptures, speak to learned scholars, sadhus, gurus, sadhu, sangha, only then we will understand what we are in. So this, he continues the description of the banyan tree. He says, Adacha urdvam prastratastasya saka. Its branches are spreading up and down. All the 14 lokas are part of this. Sorry, let me not do this now. Okay. All 14 lokas, the top 7 planetary systems and the bottom 7 planetary systems, they're all branches and they're all going to keep us in this material world. And we are going to move up and down this samsara tree depending on what kind of life we lead. If we lead a life of virtue, then we, in the mode of goodness, then we can move to the upper planetary systems. If you live your life in the mode of tamas, then you'll go down to the lower planetary systems. But what Krishna is saying, all are still in the material world. Try to realize that I have to step across this reflection to go to the spiritual world. Guna pravruddha vishaya pravalaha. Pravruddha means every tree needs nourishment. So similarly, we have to choose the desire which should give us nourishment. If you choose the desire to enjoy, then the material existence expands to fulfill those desire. If you choose the desire to live a life of detachment, Krishna will bless you with that bhakti and you can start making attempts to overcome the influence of the mode. Visaya pravalaha. What is Vishaya? Vishaya is all the objects. Sorry. That attract us to this material world. Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. All the 5 senses drive us or attract us in 5 different directions. Pravalaha. Pravala is like tender shoots. What do the tender shoots do? Auxiliary buds. They sprout and they grow into huge branches. So be aware. Every desire is a branch which is going to attach you into this material world. These twigs, which are budding branches, makes the tree look very beautiful. But similarly, we should be aware that whenever we come across with sense objects, we become happy. You see a rasgulla, your mind or your mouth is watering and you get attracted. But then you should be aware that too much of rasgulla is not good. So we should have that sense of balance. That's what Krishna is saying. Vishaya. What is Vishaya? Sense objects. What does it lead to? It leads to kama. List. What does kama lead to? Karma. Because I like a gulab jamun, I will go and make an attempt to buy a gulab jamun. That is karma. What does this karma do? Karma gives us karma phala. If I do good amount of work, I will get that gulab jamun. I will eat that. So there are 2 karma phalas, punya, papa. So depending on, now I give an example of, a gulab jamun, I eat that, I'm happy. But in the world, in our lives, every act is either an act of pious deed or an act of impious deed. A papa, punya. So Krishna says it's debit and credit. So if you go on building your positive credits, then you have a better chance of moving into the spiritual world. Adastya mulani anusantatani. Mula means the secondary roots. This tree also has roots going down from Brahmaloka up to Pataloka. We should understand that there is 14 lokas for us to move up and down. The task is humongous. We must step out of Brahmaloka to go to Goloka. And these roots are firm. It's not easy. Until and unless we study, until and unless we reflect, until and unless we practice, it's not going to come easy. Karma anubandhini manishya loke. If you do karma anubandhini, what happens? You become bound by karma. So we have to try and make attempts to step above karma. Now, this earthly planet is basically doing karma. And the heavens are for enjoying the fruit. We all know this. Now, what Krishna is saying, do not be attracted by the temporary enjoyment of fruit in the upper planets. Come out of that and reach my loka where there is permanent bliss. That's the essence. So what is this banyan tree Krishna has described so far? Branches are the upper and lower planets. Leaves are the Vedic hymns. Twigs are the sense objects. Tips of the branches, they are the senses. Fruit, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Most of us are only focused on artha and kama. We don't really worry too much about dharma, moksha, we really don't understand. So Krishna says, please reorient your focus. Nourishment, the 3 modes of material nature. So if we cut down the nourishment, then this tree is not going to grow strong. We'll have a fair chance to step out of this attraction. This is what Krishna is describing to us in the first 2 verses. What does this show? This shows this material world. It has 14 lokas. All are here. All our desire, if you are going to be looking at economic development, sense gratification, sense objects, pious deeds, impious deeds, you are still in this world. He says, if you have a desire, I have a desire to step above these 14 lokas and come to my loka, that is Goloka. That is Vaikunta. Why, what is Vaikunta? Vaikunta means free from anxiety. Very simple. What is Kunta? Full of anxiety, temporary world. So this is the journey of spirituality. Trying to understand that I should not be caught in this vortex. I should step up and go to the Lord, Krishna himself. And Krishna is inviting us with open hands or open arms. We go to the next verse. Na rupam asyeha tatopalabhyate na antu na cha adir na cha sampratistha ashwattam enam suviruddhamulam asanga shastrena dhrudena chitva. Now Krishna is telling us, cut the tree with acts of detachment. Yes, we know it is a complicated, big, huge banyan tree, but Krishna says, I will tell you the secret of how to come out of it. He says, use the acts of detachment, cut the tree of attachment. Translation. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. So the detachment becomes very, very important. And to practice detachment comes only by practice. It's not easy. Na rupam atsyeha tatopalabhyate. Rupam is that form that Krishna has described to us so far. Asi, Iha. Asi is of this tree, Iha in this world. Please understand what you are seeing as a material world is only the imaginary upside down banyan tree. This Ruksha is only Maya. It is not there. You are only experiencing it, but you can't hold on to it. Tatopalabhyate. Real form of this tree cannot be perceived. Why? Because it is very complex. Why it is so complex? He clearly tells us. How do we imagine this upside down banyan tree? Another example Acharya gives is a dream. We can dream vividly. We think that we are really sweating in our dreams. But when we get up, there is nothing. We can't hold on to our dreams in our waking state. Similarly is our life. That is what Krishna says. Looks concrete, but you can't catch it. Nantu na cha adir na cha sampratista. He says there is no end. Anta is end. Adir is beginning. Sampratista is middle. There is, you cannot see where it starts, where it ends, and where is the middle. Acharya has given an example. If you are in the middle of the ocean, can you see where is the ocean starting? What is the middle? What is the end? Impossible. Because ocean is vast. Banyan tree is vast. This material world is also vast and complex. So we should be conscious that we should not get caught into this whirlpool. In fact, in 11.16, sorry, now I will give you, let's take this pen. This is the acts that Krishna refers to. And he says how we can be detached through gnana, that is knowledge, and through vairagya. Nothing belongs to us, so don't take this. So that's the, remember the behavior. He says be equal to praise, and if someone fires you, don't get disturbed. Be balanced. So gnana and vairagya will be the only two acts that we have to practice and perfect to follow to cut this attachment to this material world. And here in 11.16, Krishna uses the same word. He says, Aneka bahudara vaktra netram pashyami tvam sarvato ananta rupam na antam na cham na madhyam na punastavadim pashyami vishveshwara vishwarupa. So Krishna has used the same na antam na madhyam na punastavadim. So Virat Rupa, which was showing us the material universe in Krishna, Arjuna had used the same words. Sorry, Krishna has used the same word to describe the Vishwarupa. So this banyan tree has Ashwathavinam Suvirudamulam. The roots are very, very deep. The best message that Krishna gives or Acharya gives is do not try to figure out this banyan tree. Do not try to find where the roots are, where the branches are. Just get out. Moolam is root. Suvi root, the moolam, is strongly rooted. Our attachment to this world is also strong and deep. So you must practice detachment. Speak to people who are learned. Try and follow the scriptures. Guru, Sadhu, Sangha. These three will help us try to understand how to cultivate detachment. And in this verse, the most important word is Sangha. Asanga is the opposite of Sangha. All of us try to get attached to something or the other. Krishna is saying Asanga. Detachment is opposite of attachment. And he says, how do I find this detachment? Just what is the weapon I have to use? Shastrena. What is the weapon? That is Rudena Chitva. Be determined. Be, and it is a slow process. It is a journey. I am not detached today. No way. Can I leave my home and go to a forest? No way. Can I stop eating today? No way. Can I stop working today? No way. Can I stop looking after my children? No way. All these are realities of life. But we should have the firm determination that one day I will implement this plan of Krishna step by step in my life. Only then I can go into the spiritual world. Gradually, chitva, cut down. What we should cut down? Our longings, our wishes, our wants, our desires. My child, my house, my work, everything, my. We should try to cut down that and then say there is only one reality of this world, and that is Krishna. I live for Krishna. If you do that, you are able to practice the art of detachment. Now, Krishna has told you what to do, how to come out of detachment. What should we do? He has told us. He says, Asanga Chatrena, fine. Now, how do I practice this Asanga Chatrena? Now Krishna describes this beautifully in this verse. He says, Tata padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyaha tammeva chadyam purusham prapadye yata pravrutti prasritta purani. Krishna has not only told you what to do, now he's going to tell us how to do it. How do we cut this tree of attachment? He says, surrender to me. Prapadye. Let's look at the translation. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. So Krishna is now very clearly telling us how to do it. And it is not a very long, drawn, complex, formula-driven process. It is simple. One word, surrender, prapadye. Let's read them, go by line. Tata padam tat parimargitavyam. So the tata means thereafter. Thereafter means what? Acharya says, after getting vairagya, after getting the realization of vairagya, mature dispassion. Padam. We have understood what is our destination, what is our goal. Parimargatavyam. I have to search that out. I have to enter into Vedantic studies seriously, systematically, develop that jignasu. Jignasu is parimarganam. So if you start the process, if you start reading Gita today, if you start listening to Gita today, that awareness starts sinking within us. Gain guidance of a spiritual master who can guide us. Padam is the ultimate goal of all of us. What is that? That is to understand Krishna. If we are able to understand, Krishna says, Yasmin Gatana Nivartanti Bhuyaha. One will reach the Goloka, one will reach my destination. Bhuya na Nivartanti, one who does not come back to the samsara at all. We are free from all the miseries in this world if we go back to Goloka. Tammeva chadyam purusham prapadye. These two lines are talking about surrender. The devotee says, O Lord, tam purusham chadyam prapadye. I surrender to the Lord who is called Purusha. Who is Purusha? Purusha has two meanings. One is, he is the all-pervading one. Purayati sarvam iti Purusha, all-pervading. Second meaning is Purayati vasati iti Purusha. Puram means body, vasati means one who lives within the body. We all know that Lord resides within all the living jivas as Paramatma. We have studied that he is also known as Kshetrajna. Yata pravrutti prasrita purani. From whom this whole world, pravritti means emerges. He is the creator of this universe. The entire 14 planetary systems are created by the Lord. And he says, Prasruta Purani. This is the Purani means the most ancient creation. To whom should we surrender to? We should surrender to Krishna. What is our goal? Tata Padam. Our goal is, what is the goal? That is to surrender to Krishna. He has said this in 10.8 also. Again, I show this. Gnana Vairagya will help us develop the detachment. Krishna has said the same thing in 10.8. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their heart. What he said as Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, here it is Tam Eva Chadyam Purusham Prapadye Yata Pravrutti Prasrita Purani. Surrender unto me, who is the creator. Now comes the next verse. He tells us what should be our qualification to develop this detachment. Nirmana Moha Jita Sanga Dosha Adhyatma Nitya Vinivritta Kama Dvandvair Vimukta Sukha Dukta Samjne Gachanti Amuda Padam Avyayam Tat. This is the surrendering process. Let's go through the translation. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. These are the few qualities that Krishna says, if you develop, you will learn, you will be able to surrender unto me. What are those? Nirmana, free from false pride, humility. That is why the word I is false ego. You will going further, you will see, because this I is part of Krishna. So when it is part of Krishna, the gold jewel cannot say I am independent, because the gold jewel comes from gold. So Krishna is gold, we are the piece of gold. So we have to have that humility. Moha, be free from illusion. There is nothing in this world which belongs to us. Everything can be appeared, everything appears, everything can disappear. It is there today, it is not there the next minute. And you can't do anything about it. Hitasanga dosha, be free from false association. All relationships are like a bubble which can break at any point in time. Adhyatma nitya, be in spiritual consciousness. Try to ask this question: who am I? Why I am here? What is my goal? Vinivritta kama, give up the desire for sense enjoyment. Slowly and steadily start the process of giving up the desire for sense enjoyment. Dvandva vimukta, free from dualities, and he has been stressing this since the beginning of Gita. Sukha dukkha samjnaya, be equipoised to happiness and distress. And if we do this, Gachanti amuda padam avyayam tat. What is that? Now, how do we imagine that? How can I do all these things? That would be the question. The best answer the acharyas give is that we all love to see horror movies. Why? There is fear, anxiety, excitement. Now, if you want to be experiencing this, all these feelings, then you go to see the movie. Now, if you desire, say that, no, I don't want to get excited by that emotion of fear and anger and anxiety. I want to remain normal. Then what you do? You stop watching the movie. Similarly, we should convince ourselves that our desires, our karma, our lust can't make me happy. If you decide that, then the next step starts. Now, what he refers as Padam Avyayam, that is referred to as Tadhama Paramam Mama. I will show you that in this. Sorry. Avyaktokshariti ukta tam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya navanivartante tadhama paramam mama. So that which the Vedanta is described as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination. This is what we are all wanting to go. That place from which, having attained it, one never returns. That is my supreme abode. So Krishna is referring to this as Tadhama Paramam Mama in 8.21. Now he says Padam Avyayam. Gachanti amuda padam avyayam tat. Who is this person? He is not a Mudha. He is a Amudha, unbewildered. He is a Gnani. He is a wise person. He is well read. He has understood the scriptures like Gita. Padam Avyayam. If I am able to practice all these things, then I will be able to go back and achieve Krishna's personal abode. That is wisdom. That is what Krishna wants us to focus on. Going further, now he describes how is the spiritual world. Na tad bhashayate suryo, na sasanko na pavaka, yagatva na nivartante, tad dhama paramam mama. Very important verse. Look at the qualities of the spiritual world. If you read the translation, you will get the essence of it. That supreme abode of mind, let me get into pointer, is not illumined by sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to the material world. What is Krishna saying? All that you see here do not apply in the spiritual world. He has told us, Gachanti Amuda Padam Avyayam Tat. So he's saying, you will come back to my world. Now he is describing what that world is. He says, Tad Bhama Paramam Mama. Please come back to my abode. And what are the qualities and the features of this world, of the spiritual world? He says, Na tad bhasayate suryo. It is not illumined by the sun. In this material world, anything that we need to see, we need to wait for sunlight, because only if he illumines, we can see things. Now, what does he mean by this? Philosophy behind this is that na tad bhashayate suryo means that which cannot be perceived by the eyes. Na shashanko na pavakha. It is not illumined by moon, nor by fire or electricity. What is the philosophy here? Na shashanko na pavakaha. Moon is associated with the mind. So that which cannot be conceived by the mind is my loka. Na pavakaha. It is fire. It cannot be illumined by fire. What is the philosophy? Fire is associated with theory speech. So that which cannot be described words by words is inconceivable. That is my abode. Yadgatvana nivartante. Those who reach will never return back to this material world. So the way we understand is this spiritual world is self-illuminous. It cannot be described. It cannot be illumined. It cannot be seen by our material faculties. You have to understand that this is spiritual. It is beyond the realm of material understanding. And if we know that once you reach that world, there is no repetition of life cycle of birth and death. That is a good price for all of us to focus on. Let's get back to the Lord so that we are free from this repeated cycle of birth and death. Going further, now Krishna is giving us, who are we? Many people ask this question, who am I? So Krishna answers, Mama evam shujiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manasastani indriyani krutistani karchati. What is the identity? Krishna says, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Underline. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the
Audio
mind.
problem is too much, Sham.
Sorry? Can you say that again?
ಪ್ರಭುಜಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಧ್ವನಿ ಇದು ವಾಯ್ಸ್.
My Wi-Fi
I
is
thought it was
perfect.
my internet problem, but somebody else is also saying.
Let me check. Ramesha, how is it with you?
ನನಗೊಂದು ಚೂರು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಅವಾಗ ಬ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವಿಡ್ತ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಸೆಷನ್.
ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೀನು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ?
ಮಾಡೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್. ಅವಾಗಲೇ ಬ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ವಿಡ್ತ್ ಒಂದು ಚೂರು ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಓಕೆ, so one learning is, if you can go back, don't switch on the video. Maybe that will help the bandwidth. Ketana, is that
Thank you.
good?
Thank you. Yes, I have done that. Let me see. Thank you.
Let us try. Thank you. So Krishna is giving us the identity of all living jivas in this world. Mama evamsha jiva loke. What is Krishna saying? All the jivas in this conditioned life, they are part and parcel of me. Amsha is part. As an individual soul, we have our individuality. and a minute form of independence. But Krishna says, please remember what is your origin. You are all a part of me. I gave you the example. A gold jewel, a gold ring, or a gold bangle is never independent of the gold because what is it constituted of? Gold. So the origin of this ring, bangle, necklace is coming from the metal gold. So all of us, I may be male, female, whale, shark, whatever form of living being I am part of Krishna. So why did I get into this place? Why did I come into the spiritual material world from the spiritual world? Because I misused independence. I became a conditioned soul. And Krishna is now again inviting us back. He says, please do not exercise your independence to enjoy independently. You are part of me. Whatever you do, one day you have to come back to me. Why don't you come back to me quickly? Don't exercise your independence. If you use your independence correctly, in the right manner, then you become liberated. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The living worlds in this conditioned world are my eternal parts. This is very, very important. So we are Amsha, we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we are Sanatana. As Krishna is eternal, we are eternal. So we don't have to really worry about whatever happens to us in this material world. All these miseries are happening only to this body, which is anyway temporary. This body is there today, it is anyway not going to exist tomorrow. So why regret? Why try so hard to look after this impermanent body? Krishna doesn't say Brahma Amsha Jiva Loke. That's another thing that Acharyas point out. He says Mama Amsha. He doesn't say Brahma Amsha. We are not part of Brahman. He says you are part of Krishna, Bhagavan. Second part is telling us about what is causing us this confusion about who we are. Why is this false ego? Why is this mistaken identity? He says, Mana Sastani Indriyani. The struggle is there because of our mind. Sasta means six. There are five senses: eyes, ears, tongue, nose, skin, and manaha, along with mind. In deep sleep, what happens? We get rid of the body, mind, and the senses. We are completely independent and with nothing to control us. Krishna says, try to be in that state when you are in the awakening state. Do not allow the mind and the senses to dictate what you are going to do. You should dictate what the senses are going to do. You should tell the senses, always think of Krishna, pray to Krishna, speak about Krishna, remember Krishna. If you tell this to the senses, slowly the senses will start listening to you. Prakriti karshati. Krishna says, yes, I understand. The struggle is very hard in this world. There's no karshati. Srila Prabhupada says in the purpose, karshati means struggling, grappling hard. And it is a very significant word. We are bound up as though we are shackled by iron chains. And what is that iron chain? The three modes, our false ego. And we always say, I want to do this, I want to do that. The moment you have I, we are conditioned. So if you are able to step out of this struggle and suffering and surrender to the Lord, your goal is achieved. Krishna has described this earlier too. Before that, the nice statement to summarize this verse. You are a part of me. Remember, Krishna is saying, do not be apart. Due to attachment of the worldly things, the suffering of the jiva increases. By becoming independent of Krishna, have we achieved anything? No. We are only going to have all the miseries of this world. They are not going to change just because I say I am independent, because my false ego. After knowing this, then why should we not surrender to him? Krishna has said this repeatedly in Gita. He says in Bhagwadgita 8.15, Dukkhalayam Ashaswatam. This is the world of dukkha and this world is temporary. He says, Anityam Asukam Lokam in 9.33. I mean, this world is temporary, miserable. Engage in loving service to me. Imam Prapya Bhajaswamam. In 13.11, Krishna says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. Why should we live in this world which is a place of misery? So, and what is the essence of this verse is that due to attachment, the suffering increases. With detachment, the pleasure of going back to the Lord increases. So we should try to reverse, practice attachment to Krishna and reduce attachment to the material worldly thing. Going to the next verse. Now he tells us, Shariram yad avapnoti yat chapi ukramati shwaraha gruhit vaitani samyati vayurgandhani vasayat. Now he's talking about transmigration. Why we are getting into this cycle of birth and death? It's all of our own doing. The living entity in the material world carries different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries the aromas. He's giving a very powerful example. He says, thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Why should we get into this cycle of birth and death? Can we stop this? Krishna says, be aware, and he's using the word, very powerful word, Ishwaraha. So let's go to the verse line by line. Sariram yat avapnoti. He, this living entity, this jiva, carries different conceptions of life from one body to another. Yes, in this life, we may be blessed with an Uttama body, with all, I know you're born with a silver spoon, you have good means of life, or Madhyama, somewhere in the middle, or Adama, we don't have anything much to look forward to. Krishna says, all this is happening Yachapi Ukramatishwaraha. You are, you should be aware that when you are giving up this body, when you are departing from the body, you are actually Jiva. You are the Ishwara. You are the controller, but you are not behaving as a controller. You have become controlled by the modes. Because, and why is saying the word Ishwara? Very powerful. This Jiva is alive because of or that this Sharira is alive because of the Jiva. Let's say what happens once we die. The dead body does not respond to any sense objects. You burn it, it doesn't respond. Why? Because the Ishvara, the controller, the Jiva, the Kshetrakna have stepped out of the body. He says, you are such a powerful person, be aware of it and act accordingly. Grut Vaitani Samyati. Now Krishna is saying, he's giving an example, what happens and why we get into this repeated cycle of birth and death. Our Jiva, when we are about to give up, travels, samyati means travels, it takes along with it the senses and the mind. So this, if you are able to train your mind without, we know you should not be thinking at the time of death, oh, I want to be born as an Ambani. If you think like that, then Tatastu says the Lord. You will get another body with the your desire to be fulfilled. At least you will make an attempt to fulfill your desire. If you have a desire of I want to surrender to Krishna, then you will be born as maybe a great sage, a great saint, where you completely surrender to the Lord and your life in this material world comes to an end. So he says, be aware that you are taking up the mind and senses. So you should be careful of what you desire at the time of death. And what is the example? Vayur Gandha Nivasayat. He says, how does air carry the fragrance or aroma of a flower? Sayat is a flower. That's the example. So the flower is our physical body because it is visible. Now, flower has got fragrance. Can you see the fragrance? No. But you can smell the fragrance because it is sukma, invisible. So the invisible Vayu, wind, carries the invisible fragrance from the visible flower and travels. Similarly, Krishna is saying, the jiva carries along with it all the sense organs and mind. Samyati means travels to attain the next body. Why it takes the sense body? Because it is required for the next body. So if you have decided that I will desire to go back to Krishna, your desire will be fulfilled in the next life. If you continue to desire that I want to become this, I want to become that, then Krishna says, I will help you achieve that. So he says, it is in our control. We are the Ishwara of our body and we decide our destination. That's the the purport of the meaning of this verse. Going further. Now he is describing further what happens. Shrotram chaktu sparshanam cha rasanam grahanam eva cha adhisthaya manaschayam visyan upasevate. Thus taking another gross body. So our desire decides our next body. The living entity thus taking another gross body obtains certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys particular sense objects. So what is Krishna saying? You should be aware that your jiva carries your mind. If it carries your mind, it is carrying your desires. So why should we control our desires? Why should we detach so that we decide what kind of jiva we should be or what kind of body our jiva should get in the next life? And he says, what do you carry? Shrotram, ears, chakshu, eyes, parshanam, faculty of touch, rasanam, faculty of taste, grahanam, faculty of smell. All these senses follow the jiva. Adhisthaya means led by, controlled by, centered around, supervised by manaha, mind. So why the control of mind is so important? Because it is deciding the next life too and repeated lives too. If you don't control what you desire, then you will have to come back into this world, fulfill that desire. Visayan upasevate. What does the soul do? Upasevate. Even this word upasevate, the word seva is there. Instead of serving Krishna, you are serving the sense object. Whatever Visayan you want to serve, Krishna will be able to say that, okay, fine, I will help you fulfill that. Now, what is the soul now? Compared to the soul is like a husband with 5 wives. All these 5 senses are accompanying the soul. So the analogy Acharyas give is that our fingers are centered around palm. Similarly, our senses are centered around the mind. If you are able to control your mind, then you will be able to control your next destination. So it is within our hands to try and say, I don't want to be born in this material world again. I want to go back to the spiritual world. Next verse. Ukramantam stitam vapi bhunjanam va gunanvitam vimudananu pashyanti gnana chakshusaha. Transmigration. Krishna is saying, I have described all this. The scriptures are describing this, but some people can see this, some people cannot see this. Who are those? Vimuda nanu pashyanti. They cannot see. Pashyanti gnana chakshusaha. He says, if you want to see this and understand this, then you should have gnana chakshusaha. You should have the knowledge. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body enjoys under the spell of modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all these things. So what time we are spending today in understanding 15th chapter of Gita, that is giving us prana chakshu. We are able to see, we are able to understand what is the essence, what should we have as our goal. That is what is knowledge. A very crucial work. Krishna is saying there are people who are vimudhas, who are blinded by desires. There are people who are prana chakshu, who are blessed by knowledge. Both of us exist in this world. Ukramantam sitam vapi. Now is again coming back to that step where he says, when you are about to give up the body is inert, mind is inert, both of them act together as sentient. We are very active when the jiva is within the body. Why? Because the jiva is stitam vapi, is within us. So the Kshetrajna within us is keeping this body active. We should be aware of that. Bhunjanam, this body, we are able to enjoy all these things, va gunanvitam, because of the modes. So the Kshetrajna within this body experiences everything. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So Jiva resides in the body and experiences the world. Gunanvitam. And what are the reactions? Now the choices are Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. So these 2 chapters are so well interlinked. Vimuda nanupashyanti. Foolish soul cannot see. And this is a lovely example. It's like this. I show you a fan. Now, if I am a person with Gnana Chakshuta, what will I see? I will see the fan, I will see the blades, and I will switch on the fan, and the fan blows wind. But is this what you see? This is what I can see, but there is something hidden behind. What is that? Electricity. If there is no electricity, this phone fan is of no use. It is not of any use to us at all. Similarly, Krishna says, Oh Vimudha, if you don't understand that there is Jiva within your body, which is helping you do all these things, then you are a Vimudha, person of great fool. You are not able to understand the divine within yourself. Now let us see if I have. He has said this even in 3.27. Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So Krishna has repeatedly shared this. Be aware that this modes make you do so many things. But if you tell your mind that I don't want to do that, the mind has, you have a fair chance that the mind will listen to you. Pashyanti Gnana Chaktusa. So, who are mature people, who are learned people, who have the eyes of knowledge, they can see the electricity is the cause of the whirring fan. But if you are a Vimudha, you will only say, Oh, I am a materialist. What I see is that there is a fan, there are wings, it is running, and I just put on the switch, it runs. I switch off, it stops. Why it is switching on and switching off, it's not my concern. So, if you want to be Vimudha, choice is yours. But if you want to have Gnana Chakshu, you want to have knowledge, then you can follow what Krishna is telling us in this verse. He has used the Gnana Chakshusa even in 13.35. Kshetra Kshetra Gnayor Evam Antaram Gnana Chakshusa Bhuta Prakruti Moksham Chaye Viduryanti Te Param. Those who see with the eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body, Kshetra and Kshetragna, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage and material nature, attain to the supreme goal. It is all within our hands. It is within our endeavor to control our mind. Acharyas give a wonderful example. They say that when you want to apply vibhuti, tilak, kumkum, whatever on your forehead, what do? You take the help of a mirror. What does the mirror do? Mirror reflects your face. So where do you apply the tilak or bindu or bindi? You apply it on your face. Why don't you apply it on the mirror? Because you know, Gnana Chakshusa, you know that mirror only reflects. And let's say there is a black spot on our face. You can see the black spot in the mirror, but do you wipe the mirror? No, you wipe your face. Why? Because the mirror helps you see the black spot on your face. Similarly, if you practice, if you are aware of the spiritual science, what Gita is telling us, you will recognize that I am the Jiva, and all I need to be aware is that everything that I'm doing is because of Jiva, and it is my endeavor, my duty to control my senses and my mind so that the jiva doesn't get further entangled. We should allow the jiva to go back to the spiritual world. Last verse of the day. Yatanto yogina chainam pashyanti atmani avasthitam yatanto abhi akratatmano nainam pashyanti achetataha. Krishna says, the endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to. So this is further reinforcement of what Krishna tells us in the last verse. Again, an example. There are two types of people. One who is knowledgeable, discerning, vivekit, pashyanti, gnana chakshusa. And there are other people who are non-discerning, non-discriminate, avivekit, vimuda, nanu pashyanti. Acharya has given another example. Whenever I see a bulb, what do I see? When I switch on, the bulb glows. When I switch off, bulb stops glowing. So there are two things. One is the visible bulb, another is the invisible electricity. So we should similarly use the example of fan and the bulb to realize that our jiva is invisible, and it is within this kshetra. The kshetragna, atma, paramatma, they are all within this body. So now, if you are aware of this, yatanto yogina chainam. So who are meditators, they are trying to unite with the Lord. They understand whom we should surrender to. So by effort, what is the effort they do? Karma yoga. What will happen? The result of that is chitta shuddhi. Our consciousness is purified. Upasanena, our chitta will become ekagrata, focused. Focused on whom? Focused on the Lord. Focused on the lotus feet of Krishna. Shravanena, what happens when you listen to the Lord's glories? Gnana nivritti, what you can say, our ignorance is wiped out. Mananena, when you think of the Lord in your mind, our doubts, our lack of faith is purified. When you surrender unto the Lord, our vasana, nivritti happens. We are purified. So, if we are doing all these endeavors, then you will understand Atmani Avasthitam. We are a spiritual soul, jiva within this body. That is the self-realization. Inam Pashyanti. We can see this. And where is this Atma? Where is this Paramatma? Atmani Avasthitam. It is within us. You don't have to go to any temple to see the Lord. We can see the Lord within us. So how do we, what is this body? Acharya says, mind is the sanctum sanctorum. Garbhagriha. Body is the temple. So body, you should not ignore it. It is the temple. Within that is the mind. That is our sanctum sanctorum. And consciousness and the jiva is the deity. So if you think like this, then you will act like this. You will not chase, or you will not allow your mind to chase desires which are kritatmanaha. Kritam means refined, kritam means non-refined. So if you allow your mind to be refined, then you will focus on the Lord. If you allow your mind to be unrefined, uncultured, untuned, then you will concentrate, focus on the material world. Enam na pashyanti. You will never recognize the Lord within us. You will always argue that I don't support the scriptures because I can't see the jiva within me. Show me the proof. Where is the Lord? That is the question of a foolish person. Achetasaha. These are people who are without intellect. They are unintelligent. They have misdirected consciousness. Why? Their consciousness is caught at the material level. So the non-devotee also endeavors hard, but still he is not able to understand the Lord. But the the people who are yogis, who are focusing on the Lord, are able to understand and surrender to the Lord. And achetasa is used again in 3.32. Yetva atad etad abhyashuyanto na anutistanti me matam sarvagnana vimudam stam vidinastan achetasaha. Who are achetasaha? Those who out of envy disregard the teachings. So they always say that, oh, I don't believe in Gita. And they do not follow them regularly. They are considered to be bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So after reading this, we should move from the stage of being ignorant to the stage of having Gnana Chakrusa, having that eyes of knowledge. With this, we end the first part of the chapter. Quick recap. The acronym of this is home. We studied home. Krishna says, do not try to be attracted to your home, even though you love it, because this is temporary. A hotel could give you even more comforts, even more attractions, but it is again a temporary residence. Identify, realize, become aware that there is a spiritual world, spiritual home, Goloka waiting for you. How do you come to that? How do you step out of this? Oh, on and on, over and over again, because you can come to me, you can come to my Loka by cutting down this bondage, attachment by detachment. M and E, we will study in the next class. Thank you very much. Please feel free if you have any questions.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Chetna.
a little difficult to understand this, the first part
Urdhvamulam
about the
Adashakam.
upturned, about the
Banyan
upturned
tree.
tree.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's difficult to wrap your head around it, but at that point I had written down a couple of questions. If the gunas are nourishment to this tree, correct?
Yes.
If all the gunas are nourishment to this tree, and we are the human, a human is a product of these three gunas, so they reside in each of us in different proportions. So if guna is nourishment, then sattva guna will be good nourishment. If we go towards sattva guna, will not the leaves which are supposed to be Vedic hymns, which are which lead us to more spirituality and probably move us closer to Bhagavan. So then why would I cut the use the acts of detachment to cut off this sattva guna also? I don't know
Very
if you
good question.
understand my question.
No, I very well understand. See, we have an option. We live in Satuguna. We follow all the Karma Kanda Vedic rituals. So what is the problem? This is your question, correct?
Yes. In short, yes. That's why I said it's
So,
thoda difficult hai to understand the banyan
Krishna
tree,
says,
but it clearly that the leaves and the branches were spirituality, Vedic hymns, the Vedas, and so on. So
very true.
if I'm nourishing it with Sadguna, then why would I use the acts of detachment?
Very good. First step is to nourish Tattva Guna. Okay? That is like, if I have to do graduation, I have to do my 12th standard.
Yes.
So, mode of goodness, cultivating the stay in the mode of goodness is my pre-university qualification. If I want to do graduation, and what is graduation? Graduation is, Krishna says, even in the mode of goodness, we studied in the last chapter. No, you have that element of pride, which says, I read Gita, I understand Gita, I can quote shlokas, I am more knowledgeable than Chetna, I am more knowledgeable than Ramesh. So that element of pride, that false ego, still can exist with you. I'm not saying it will, it can. It can. So what Krishna says, remember, even the mode of goodness does not take away the attachment to this world. The word prapadye, surrender, is to go above the mode of goodness. That is your graduation. So if someone says you are well versed in Gita, you are doing excellent job, you should say, thank you, I will pass on the credit to Krishna. It doesn't belong to me because it is his mercy that has helped me to read Gita, learn Gita, and teach Gita. This is being surrendered to the Lord. There is no element of I. As long as I exist, the mode of goodness also is not sufficient. The day the mode of goodness helps you remove I from your dictionary, you are transcended the mode. It's a very, very delicate balance to understand what Krishna says. Now, for example, there is a lovely story in Mahabharata. Now, Sudama. Sudama was the great friend of Krishna. Sudama lived in utter poverty for many years. All his children, my wife said, why don't you go to Krishna and ask? But Sudama said, I will not ask because for me, poverty is way of life. And Krishna did not help him because he says, if you don't ask, I will not give. I will respond. I am not responsible. The day Sudama went to see Krishna, Sudama gave him just 3 handfuls of puff rice, broken rice. Krishna asked, what have you brought for me? And Sudama very sheepishly said, I am giving you this puffed rice because I can't afford to give you anything more. You are the Lord. You are blessed with everything. Krishna accepted that and ate that and relished it and did not tell Sudama anything about what he is going to return as reward. And when Sudama went back, his entire life had changed because he was blessed with all the riches that you need to live in this world. So Sudama lived in the mode of goodness all his life, but still he was not able to transcend the mode because Krishna said, you have not surrendered. You never came to me. See, we have to surrender to the Lord. Living in the mode of goodness is saying that I will do whatever you tell me, Lord, but I will be I. The moment you say, I don't exist, I am part of Krishna, you have transcended mode of goodness too. And of course, this is not an easy answer. I agree. You must reflect on it deeply to understand the essence of it.
Okay. So,
Make
thank
sense?
you, Prabhuji. One more. If you can just go back to the slide of 15.4.
Point four. Let me go back.
I hope I'm not holding back everybody else.
No. This is the most enjoyable part of the session. Here we are, 15.4.
So this, my earlier question was related to this slide. I had written it down at that time. Also, here I think you said, something like, will I stop working for my bread and butter? Will I stop taking care of my children? Will I stop caring for my family? For which the answer was obviously no. But you have to continue to take care of your family because it is your duty. Okay, I mean, I'm just putting my
Yes,
question
what is the
across.
question? Yes.
So apparently, in the earlier first 6 adhyayas of the Gita, Bhagavan says you have to keep doing what you're doing, keep doing
Right.
your duties. Okay, and
Correct.
also apparently in the Mahabharata, it says that Brahma told Vedavyas ji that your epic, the Mahabharata, is as difficult or as vast to comprehend as Grihastha-ashrama.
Right.
Okay, apparently Grihastha-ashrama is the most difficult among all the 4 ashramas of life.
Right.
And so Vedavyas ji went to Ganesha, who was a brahmachari, to get him as a scribe.
Right.
So how does in Grihastha, while being in Grihastha ashrama? Because then if I decide to leave everything and go, I will not be doing my duty.
There is a time and place
Again,
for
do
everything.
you understand my question?
If you are following, I understand your question. Now we are a Gruhastha and we have responsibilities. So how do I surrender to the Lord? Correct? The answer to
Yes,
that
Prabhuji.
is Krishna has, the answer to that is there is a time and place for everything. Why has Krishna said you can step out of your grihastha responsibility after the age of 50, depending on how your family life is shaping into as Vanaprastha?
Okay.
Vanaprastha means I voluntarily leave my family and say that now you all are self-sufficient. Children are well educated, they are in their jobs, or if they have to get married, they can be married. You don't have to be there to spoon feed them. The moment you are aware that I have another responsibility, and that is to serve the Lord, pray to the Lord, read about the Lord, sing about the praises of the Lord, then you will say that I will enter into Vanaprastha. So you are in Gruhastha Ashrama, you are not coming out of your, or you are not playing shortcut with your responsibilities. You are only saying that I have done what I am supposed to do, and after this point, I am stepping back. I am getting detached. That is how you can do it as a Gruhastha. Your wife, your
Okay. Thank you,
children,
Prabhuji.
all of them can come and meet us, can talk to us. It is not that you are sitting in a forest. You are not disowned your family. It is just that
Exactly.
your focus is not the family. Your focus is Krishna Seva.
Okay. I apparently in the earlier times people used to go leave the gruha and proceed to the vana, is it?
Yes.
Isn't that
Now
why it is
today,
called vanaprastha ashrama?
exactly. Now you may be
Today
wondering,
it's not
how
possible,
can I
of
do?
course, but
No, this is what I also felt a few years back. But then when I was talking to a very senior person in Iskcon, he says, we have ashramas for you to come and join us. So he says, you don't worry about who will feed me, who will look after me. All that is taken by care of Krishna. All that you need to do is, you are good as, let's say, maybe you're an engineer, you're an accountant, or whatever. You get up in the morning and you serve the Lord. Rest of that, whatever is your requirements, we will take care. And I will show you so many people who have successfully transitioned from Grostha to Vanaprastha, living in Mumbai. And their children, their wives, they all come, they see them, they meet them, but they are no longer attached. The responsibility is only Krishna. That is surrender.
Okay.
It's no longer my family. It is no longer who will look after me. Should I have a saving to look after me? Then you are still in the Grihastha ashrama. When you are in the temple, you are in Vanaprastha, nobody asks you how much of money you have in the bank. Are you getting sufficient interest? Are you going to pay for your next meal? Everything is free. But what is important is surrender. Can you live that life in the temple? That is what we have to ask ourselves. So Vanaprastha is possible even in 2023. And with self-respect, you are still respected as a individual. Nobody stopped your family from visiting you. You now, let's say you have an old parent, you can go and serve them whenever they are not well. But as soon as that duty is over, you come back to the temple, because that is our primary goal now.
Thank you, Prabhuji. If you
Thank
can
you.
just, maybe next week, if you can just explain the meaning of slide 1510, why you have shown what you have shown there.
We'll do it.
1510,
We'll
but
take it
maybe
offline
next.
then. Oh, yes, sure.
Yes.
Anytime
we
you
can
are
take
free,
it
we will
offline.
connect and we can discuss that.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for
Are there?
everybody's patience. I am sorry
Thank
to
you
have
for asking
held you up.
questions. No worries at all. And let me ask again, if there are any questions, anyone has any doubt anywhere? If there are no questions, then I will close the session. All of you have a wonderful Sunday evening. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.